What's up, guys? White Sox Daily back again. I'm Aaron Feely. Another week of great Chicago White Sox news and action here. We can go ahead and jump right on into it. The first Baseball America projected lineup for the Chicago White Sox top prospects has dropped as we take a quick look ahead to the projected 2029 Chicago White Sox. And it's basically just a tool that they use to look forward into future seasons based on who your top 10 prospects currently are. And for the White Sox, a couple of surprises here. Obviously, it's 3 years down the line, but no Sam Antonucci listed as being on the major league roster at that point. No George Wolko, which I think would surprise a lot of people. Obviously, two guys that bring a lot at the plate to the Chicago White Sox that the White Sox have quite a bit invested in and that they have high hopes for going into the future. Wolko, obviously a phenomenal power hitter. Antonucci, a guy that a lot of people are hoping will be the next, sort of Tim Anderson-esque type player for the White Sox, at least at the plate, a guy that should routinely be hitting toward the top of the lineup. But yeah, obviously, they're thinking those guys take a little bit more time here. They've got Kyle Teel in at catcher, Miguel Vargas manning first base still, Chase Mydroth still over at second base. So clearly the White Sox, according to the Baseball America prospect ranking and look ahead, not foreseeing too much in the way of changes there. Montgomery at third base. Billy Carlson in at shortstop, so our first big change, and then the outfield totally redesigned at that point as they've got Caleb Bonemer in left field, Braden Montgomery in center, and Jaden Fosk in right, with Edgar Caro kind of as the odd man out, the designated hitter, extra player there for the Chicago White Sox, with Noah Schultz, Grant Taylor, Sean Burke, Shane Smith, and Tanner McDougal manning the starting rotation. Hagen Smith kind of listed as, sort of a guy that would be called up at this point, but not yet in the starting rotation. So kind of working his way through the bullpen, maybe getting a spot start here and there. That's what they've kind of got him. They've got him as the extra pitcher in their 2029 White Sox starting lineup projections towards 3 years down the line. I'm not sure that there's many White Sox fans that would totally necessarily complain with this outcome. I think obviously Antonucci and Wolko, two guys that a lot of Sox fans would hope would be a little quicker in getting up to the major league roster, that the White Sox would be able to kind of put a rocket to their back and shoot them upwards a little faster. But, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's only 3 years down the future. That's probably still perfectly fine, but if anyone disagrees, let us know in the comments below. What do you guys feel? Would you prefer Antonucci and Wolko being able to get up onto the major league roster within the next 3 years, or do you think it's perfectly fair to give them a little bit longer than that? Let us know down below as we move right on along here. The White Sox, once again, linked to major trade rumors. This time it is the San Diego Padres second baseman Jake Cronenworth, connected to the Chicago White Sox as kind of a mid-range trade that this was at the owners' meeting. A local San Diego beat reporter posting that he had heard some noise about Cronenworth potentially being a guy that they're looking to move and that the Chicago White Sox had shown interest in. No news whatsoever on any sort of what the White Sox would be willing to give up for him or anything of that nature, as a Cronenworth, a guy that doesn't really solve your power hitting issue, usually going to hit in the low to mid teens as far as home runs, a guy that can get on base but isn't elite at it. He's just another good, not great player to throw on into that infield mess that you got going on right now in Chicago. I'm not overly in love with the speculation of Drake Cronenworth being a potential White Sox add, but obviously a solid player. He's in his early 30s now. I think he could certainly assist. I'm not sure that he necessarily fixes anything in any sort of major way, but hey, Jake Cronenworth, um, a guy that has been solid, hits about 250, gonna get you about 14 to 15 home runs. Yeah, you could probably throw him in there. He'll bat seventh, he'll bat eighth, and it'll be a good time. Everyone will have a little fun there with Jake Cronenworth potentially rotating in on the infield. But we're going to continue moving right along here as we now discuss a former White Sox and not a potential future Sox rumor, as Anthony K came to us from Yokomoto. And now we've got Jose Ruiz heading back there. So not a direct trade, but almost sort of an indirect one, as the White Sox obviously signed Anthony K from that squad over in Japan earlier on this offseason. That was their first big free agency signing, was to bring in a pitcher. And now former Chicago White Sox pitcher Jose Ruiz heading over there. Had a bit of a rough season last year with Philadelphia and Atlanta. ERA was up there at about 8.82. That was a career high, though, for him. It was not necessarily indicative of what he has been to that point. A career 4.62 ERA kind of guy, and a guy who most of the seasons he's played in Major League Baseball has consistently been hitting that four, just above 4 mark as far as his ERA in the major leagues. Ruiz, a guy that was obviously with the White Sox through some of the good, some of the bad. He was there from 2018 onward till about that atrocious 2023 season. We finally sent him packing, let him finish out that year down in Arizona, where he was obviously not breaking an all-time futility record as far as losses in a season. And then, obviously we already hit on it, but last year, the rough season in Philadelphia, then Atlanta. And so he's going to try to do exactly what Kay did. And he's going to head overseas, head over to the Japanese League, see if he can't reinvent himself, reinvigorate his career out east. And so all the luck wished in the world to former Chicago White Sox pitcher Jose Ruiz in that journey. And then finally, we'll wrap things up here as Fox Sports released their first power rankings for the 2026 season. No surprise here, the Chicago White Sox checking in down low. White Sox coming in at the moment at 29 out of 30 teams. Not sure many of us are surprised by that in the slightest. They've got us just ahead of worst team in baseball from last season, the Colorado Rockies. Just behind the Washington Nationals, the Los Angeles Angels, newcomer to the bottom feeders among us, the St. Louis Cardinals. So, yeah, my wife and I can bond over the futility of our baseball teams in 2026 as, the White Sox hopefully will end the season a little bit higher than that, but not necessarily shocking to be down there amongst the Pittsburgh Pirates and Colorado Rockies of the world in the first rendition of the power rankings for 2026 on Fox Sports. And that'll do it for news as far as the Chicago White Sox are concerned this coming season. Hopefully some of the free agency starts picking up. Hopefully we start getting some trades. Luis Roberts' name always floating around. We're going to have to continue to keep an eye on him. We'll continue to see if maybe with some moves we rise up some of these Fox Sport power rankings throughout the offseason. Are you guys going to be keeping an eye on Jose Ruiz just to keep tabs on an ex-player, see what he does over in Japan this upcoming season and in future seasons? Let us know if that's something you guys are going to be doing in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.